Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and it's Women's History Month, and I'm here today to talk to you about Harley Quinn Season 1. This show came out in 2019 back on DC Universe before it later went to HBO Max, and HBO Max converted itself to Max. This was a point in time when DC and Warner Brothers were riding that of Harley Quinn train, because she's been around since the 90s when Paul Dini and Bruce Timm created her, and she's been featured in DC Comics and other like animated features and stuff like that. And she even had her own comic book, but she exploded in the David Ayers like Suicide Squad movie, because mainly Margot Robbie played her, and because of her revealing outfit. That outfit was cosplayed for many years afterwards. So DC was really trying to capitalize on that. They made a Batman and Harley Quinn animated movie that really sucked. She's been featured in tons of video games. She got her own live action movie, and so they decided to give her her own animated series, voiced by that of Haley Quoquo. And a lot of people was skeptical of Haley coming in because they didn't think Kaylee could do a decent job, but Kaylee totally nailed it in her version of Harley Quinn. Michelle Ranch, or Ranch, I should say, she voiced Harley Quinn in Batman and Harley Quinn, and she did an amazing job mimicking Arlene Sorkin's voice, but the movie was just terrible all around. And so in this version of Harley Quinn is more based on the New 52, where her whole body is white because, you know, she fell in the chemicals. I think they did something with her hair to make it more like the Suicide Squad movie, where it's like highlights and stuff on her pigtails, and they gave her a very revealing outfit. And the first season is just amazing. I love the first season. It's the only season I like. I don't like no other season of Harley Quinn. Season 2 was just okay, but it started to dip in quality, but it was still okay. But season 3 is when it really hit me that this show just isn't as good as it used to be. See, by season 3, it went to HBO Max. And every DC Universe show that went to HBO Max started to suck when they went to HBO Max. And they started to suck more when they got turned into Max. And season 4, I haven't even finished season 4 yet. It's taken me a long time. It's a chore. I dread like going back to HBO. I'm gonna call Max HBO Max, because calling it Max is stupid. Like calling Twitter X, it's just stupid. Anyway, every time I go to HBO Max and I see that in my continue watch thing, I'm just like, oh God, I have to finish this show. I can't do it with season 4. Season 4 is when it got really bad, because the creators just kind of like, let's make this show as dumb as possible, where nothing makes sense anymore, and abandoning their original premise of what this show used to be about. See, the original premise of what this show used to be about was Harley Quinn got fed up with the Joker and decided to be bad all on her own. Because around this time, DC Comics have been trying to get Harley away from the Joker for over a decade, because he's very abusive to her in the comics and in Batman the animated series. So they got tired of that, and because it depicts violence against a woman, so they've been trying to get her away from him. And so that's what this whole series was about. They both did like a crime, they got arrested, he got out, and like, you know, he just left her in Arkham to rot. And Poison Ivy's all like, look, he ain't coming back for you, so I don't know why you're waiting and everything. So she waited and she waited and she waited, and then she realized, crap dude, he ain't coming back for me. So she decided, you know what, screw him, I'm gonna be my own supervillain and create my own supervillain team. And that was the premise of this show, and it worked very well. She created her own villain team because nobody wanted to work for her because she's Harley Quinn. She's literally a henchwoman and stuff. She's like a sidekick. And nobody wanted to work for her, so she started getting some like, well, they're really tough villains in the comics, but here they're reduced to just comedic relief and everything. And it worked out. But the thing is, even though they're villainous, they turn into anti-heroes at times. That was neat. Every version of every supervillain in this show is completely different from that of the comics. Some for the better, like Poison Ivy. She's fine. She's very laid back, and it's an interesting take on her. Like, she's not necessarily my favorite version, but she's not the worst either. It's nice to see her do something different. She just tagged along because she didn't want Harley to get like hurt, and because like, you know, they're like best friends and stuff. And it's nice seeing that laid back version. She even has a laid back type outfit, wearing pants and like a blazer and stuff, which is something you never see her really do. And so on her team were that of Killer Shark, who's very like goofy and nice and sweet and comedic. You have Clayface, who just wants to act, and he's so over dramatic. I forget the other dude's name. I think it's Professor Chaos or something like that. He's just a little prick, but he's funny and everything. And then there's Poison Ivy's little plant person that she carries with her, and he's really funny. Then she has, I think, Sly at one point. I never liked him, but anyway. And so it was just a really fun, kooky little show. Even Batman and the Bat family eventually showed up. Like, first it was just Batman and Damian Wayne Robin. And this is when I started to like the show, because this version of Batman still acted like Batman. This Damian was different. He wasn't the annoying one from the New 52 movies that used to come out. He was just like this, like, really rambunctious, anxious little like kid who was just foul mouth and everything like that, but with a funny little quirk to him. I like that. Then they had James Gordon, who was just stressed completely out. Like, he is literally stressed to like his limit because all these villains keep popping around and stuff. And it was a really funny, interesting take until they got to season 2. And they started to listen to some of the complaints. Some were good complaints and some were just stupid toxic complaints. The toxic ones were just saying, oh, why is every man in this show stupid and a buffoon and blah, blah, blah. At first, I could not see it because everybody was acting a bit like a buffoon, except for Ivy and everything. But then once they started getting to like season 2, because Bane is hilarious in this. He does his Dark Knight Christopher Nolan voice, but he's just so secure and everything. But then I started to realize somewhere around season 3, I realized, yeah, all the men do act like buffoons in this show, and they are very incompetent. Like, at first in season 1, they're just like, a lot of them are evil, but they had like small roles, and then the ones that had bigger roles were very incompetent. But I feel, okay, that's just how the show is, right? But then you get to season 2, and it's just kind of like, I don't know, the little short dude, professor dude, whatever his name is, he turned to evil, and I'm like, oh no, he was so cool last time. And they broke up Kite Man and Poison Ivy, which pissed me off so much because I like that relationship. He's the dorky, nerdy guy that nobody wants to be around, and she's the extremely hot girl that nobody can get. That was awesome, you know what I'm saying? And they broke them up because of one reason. Fans complained that Poison Ivy and Harley weren't a couple, because in the comics they're both bisexual and they both date each other on and off. And so because of this, they literally broke up Kite Man and Ivy and hooked her up with Harley Quinn. Broke my heart because, you know, like, I was rooting for that dude. Like, dude, you a nerd and you got the hot girl, boy, I'm rooting for you. Supposedly they're supposed to give him his own cartoon series, which I am not looking forward to, only because he is a dork and everything, and it's a pointless cartoon series. But the problem is, when they got Harley and Ivy together, it was literally forced by the creators because they was listening to the fans, so they didn't plan it out very well, and their relationship is very blah to me. Like they don't always, like, they get along, but they don't. There's always conflict between those two because Harley is zany and wacky, and Ivory is just so laid back and everything. And Harley's always screwing up. And then it gets to the point where Ivy takes over the Legion of Doom of all things. And then Harley wants to be part of the Bat family of all things. Her little supervillain squad is now over and everything. They occasionally pop in and pop out. But now she's with the Bat family. So it's weird because she's trying to be the best vigilante she can. But of course, she's so zany and wacky and goes around killing people and stuff that it causes conflict with the Bat family, and it causes conflict with that of Poison Ivy because she has a entire team of super villains. And it's just they didn't think this out like fully when they hooked those two up together, because their relationship was just very like off and everything. It just didn't feel genuine. And the writers all like, oh no, there were signs that those two liked each other in season 1. No, there was not. Just like the Korra and Azumi thing from Avatar Legend of Korra, there were no hints that those two liked each other until the very last scene of like the show. And so if they was gonna get those two together, I wish it was done more better. But then it comes to the men acting like buffoons. It's to the point where every man is literally stupid in the head now. And not only are they, but now the entire Bat family is. Even Batman is like an idiot in this show. I'm like, how do you make Batman into an idiot, and then you make Nightwing into an insecure dude? And then, of course, every female in this show is like, you know, self-sufficient and like everything else, and constantly ragging on the men. And I'm just kind of like, in the first season, there was a nice balance between this. You had both male and females that were both buffoons and both confident in everything. Now it's just one-sided. And now they're constantly making the entire show as goofy and silly as possible and trying to see what they can get away with, because now characters just do the dumbest things for like the dumbest reason, and it literally makes no sense. And now, sorry about that, my camera died. And then by season 3, there was this big debate online because they wanted to start adding nudity and sex scenes into the show, especially between Batman and Catwoman. And I'm just like, why are you showing that? I don't need to see that. So it's not full on nudity, it's like half. And so you have like Harley and Ivory doing it in bed and making all these innuendos and all this other stuff, and it's just kind of like, I don't need to see that. I didn't need to see a naked Bane with his thing covered up and stuff like that as he's giant size. It's like they're doing this for shock value, and they're probably doing this because they're just pervy and horny and everything. And it's just like, why? Why are you diluting this show? The show used to be awesome and everything. Like, it was really something funny, because it's always been a mature cartoon. Like, Harley would literally take a baseball bat and just bust people's heads wide open and blood would gush out. It was an adult, like, mature type cartoon. But you don't have to add nudity and everything and sex scenes and stuff like that. That's just like going in a completely different level because you're trying to fulfill your own fantasy. And to me, all that stuff I complain about just like ruined this show. And it's like, Harley's not even trying to be the main star of the show no more and prove that she can do things better than other people. That was the whole point of this show, to prove that she can be better than like the Joker and all these other supervillains, and people can take her seriously. But now she's with like the Bat family, and what the craziest thing is that since season 3, the show seems to have focused more on that of Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy has more scenes. She is literally took over the Legion of Doom. Shouldn't it have been Harley that took over the Legion of Doom, since she's the one who wanted to prove herself to everybody? And then once Ivy took it over, it's just some of the lamest jokes I've ever seen. And not only that, but their original superhero squad team that they used to be a part of is barely there. Like, Clayface doesn't want nothing to do with them no more because he's a famous star now. King Shark is literally, he's found like a wife and has a bunch of babies, and his wife constantly berates him and cheats on him. Then you have the short dude who left by season 3-ish because he turned evil in season 2, and then like he went back to like take care of his son or something like that. So he's out the show. And the Joker barely pops in and out because they went and made him mayor at one point, and they made it to where he forgot he was the Joker, but then they had to remind him he's the Joker because something he did, and they needed something of his, and they needed his memories back and stuff. And it's just kind of like, it took a long time for season 5 to get renewed. Let's just put it that way. And when it takes that long for a show to get renewed, that tells you somebody at the higher ups just kind of like, I just don't know about this show. And it's just not as good as season 1. But let's get into season 1. So this show is literally about Harley Quinn taking matters into her own hand, wanting respect, and being her own boss. And let me tell you, I had such a great time rewatching the first season. I forgot, like it's always my, I said, my favorite, but I forgot just how good it is. The humor, the plots, the writing, everything hits so hard, and it was so good. Like everything was just on point. So it's like, how the heck did they waver in all the other seasons, especially that of season 4? I just don't get it. And so basically Harley Quinn, it's shown that this version has always been kind of kooky in the head, always destructive and everything, because she has a terrible family. Her father literally always makes bets, and like it's just a horrible man. And as a result, members of his family always end up getting shot by like the mob because of all the bad bets that he makes. And so like in this version, it's the New 52, where she falls in the same acid that made the Joker. In her mind, she always believed the Joker pushed her. But that was just something that she said so she can blame him, because she kind of forgot and just used that as kind of like an excuse, not realizing that it was her that jumped in there herself because she just wanted to make him happy. And so like when she was the classic version of Harley Quinn with the outfit and everything, she wanted to do a scheme on like a yacht. But Joker kept interfering in it, even though he was just supposed to assist her. Anyways, when Batman shows up and stuff, the Joker makes his escape, but he sacrifices Harley to get his escape. This pisses her off, but he promises her that he will come back for her. She gets sent to Arkham, and then a year later, he still has not come for her. Even though every day she's all like, he's coming, and everybody in Arkham's all like, dude, he has like forgotten about you. And one of those people is that of Poison Ivy. And correction, yeah, there are hints that they have a flirtation with each other, but it's very subtle, and it always threw me for a loop because they kept talking about best friend this and best friend that. But when you actually pay really close attention, yeah, there are small hints that like Ivy likes her and stuff, and that Harley likes her as well. But I truly believe they would have built up at some point to be in an actual relationship, just not as quickly as fans pushed them to. So anyways, after Ivy helps everybody in Arkham escape, they decide to stay at Ivy's place. And Harley has decided, you know what? She's still hovering over the Joker, but then she finally realizes, you know what? I need to be my own self, my own Harley Quinn. So she changes her outfit. She gives up her mallet for like a baseball bat because she went to go to like the Joker when she was still all in lovey-dovey with him, only to be like tricked by him again and everything. And so she just wants to prove herself that she is capable of being her own supervillain and not that of a hench girl. So, after like, doing some crimes and not really getting noticed by nobody, she realizes she needs to start all the way from the bottom. So she creates her own crew, but nobody wants to join her. And so she's able to find the most like pathetic like supervillains there are. That of King Shark, Clayface, and Dr. Chaos. That's it. No, Dr. Psycho. Dr. Psycho, that's it. Because Dr. Psycho, who was a main villain himself, fighting Wonder Woman, called her the C word and everything. And that pretty much got him canceled. So he got kicked out of the Legion of Doom and everything like that. He is one of my all-time favorite characters, and I hate what they did to him in season 2 and just getting rid of him altogether in all the other seasons. And so, like, pretty much with her new crew, she's trying to like do all these capers and all this and that. And it's like, nothing's really getting her noticed, but she wants to join the Legion of Doom because that's the big like bad group and everything, and she will finally be respected. So they always go on all these cool heists and everything, and it's just always hilarious. I was constantly laughing throughout the entire season. But they're not just always bad guys. They tend to end up actually saving the day and like rescuing people and stuff, because she does have a bit of a conscience. And through this season, she has to deal with the trauma of like her father, her family. They literally put like when she screws up the bar mitzvah of like Penguin's nephew, his nephew puts a hit on that of Harley, which causes her family, or at least her dad, to turn on her and try to collect the bounty, which causes her grandparents to die and everything. And it's a really sad thing because she went back home because her crew had left her and she had literally nobody. And there's just something really truly fascinating about this version of Harley in the way Kaylee voices her. Kaylee, like I said, did an amazing job, and I'm surprised she had it in her and stuff. And so, like, there's even an episode where, like, Harley brain pretty much shuts down, and because she had like a nervous breakdown, and they have to go inside her head and figure out like what caused all this. And this is what like she relived like her origin story and realized she's the one who jumped, and like her crush on Frankie Muniz when she was like younger, and then show how bad she was when she was younger. That's one of my favorite all-time episodes. But like when she finally does join the Legion, originally the only reason why they wanted her to join is because they wanted Poison Ivy. And Poison Ivy did not want to join. She doesn't even want to be a villain. She just wants to be an eco-terrorist and everything and save plants. And so, like, when they do accept Harley, her crew are other people's hench people, and they don't like it. So Harley decides to talk to the Joker because he's high ranking, but then he ends up like, because she's his weakness and everything, and she ends up refalling back for him. Because she finds out a long time ago that it's not her that he loves, it's Batman and stuff. And so when she was hanging with the Joker and everything, her crew ended up getting like really, really hurt. Like King Shark fin blew off, and like, what's her name? Something happened to Ivy where she was supposed to do something and was unable to do it. And so they break up from her. But then, they later on, like, rejoined and everything because Ivy, like, got kidnapped and they needed, like, her toxin to create, like, giant plants, but fear toxin in them. And so when Ivy gets, like, killed and everything, she tries to turn herself into the Joker, only for him to take over the entire city. And this is one of my all-time favorite versions of like the Joker. Like, he is so Joker, and the fact that they're able to cuss and do all this other stuff and kill really makes the Joker feel as realistic as possibly can be. And so like she ends up defeating him because like Poison Ivy later came back alive and they fought, and then she threw him in a thing of chemicals that made him, that returned him back human, but he blew up his layer and everything. As for the other, like, and then not only that, but then she did gain the respect of a lot of villains and stuff, and especially that of her crew. Like, even like Psycho, who didn't want to work for her, later respected her and everything. And throughout the entire thing, her and like Ivy kept talking about how we're best friends, and she was jealous of Ivy, like, getting with Kite Man, and Ivy was pissed about the whole Joker thing. So yeah, there are clues that those two do like each other and stuff. I'm surprised I like this version of Ivy because she's so laid back. And she's not as villainous as she's been portrayed in like other, like, incarnations and sexual and stuff. She's just as laid back as can be. Doesn't want to be a villain, wants to be an ego terrorist, and like she doesn't even want to join Harley's crew. She constantly keeps telling them over and over, even when people constantly assume she's with them. But she will assist them only because she wants to save Harley. Because Harley always jumps into a situation and never thinks it through clearly. And so she always has to save her life. The relationship she has with that of Kite Man, like I said, man, it's like a Star Trek Trekkie person dating a supermodel or like a porn star or something like that. And that's why it always pissed me off when she broke his heart in later seasons. And it's like, it slowly built up and everything to like a flirtation. And then she realized she just really likes him. Like, she always gushes around him and doesn't want people to see them together. But Harley is literally the only person who doesn't know that they're together, because Harley's just in her own little world. And it's still weird her and Harley ended up together in other seasons, because all they ever do is argue and stuff. And they're like the complete polar opposite. But when they went inside Ivy's mind, they realized that Harley is her worst fear and nightmare, because Poison Ivy literally says that she hates people. She only likes plants, and she likes talking to plants, like Frank, her living plant and stuff that talks, who's really sassy and funny. And so Harley, after, when she was like a doctor and everything, got Poison Ivy to at least get to the point where she just likes talking to people. But Harley is literally her best and only friend, and she doesn't want to be hurt by her. But it's because of like Harley that she's able to at least communicate and get along with other people. And she goes through a lot in this season, mainly like, getting kidnapped, having her toxin extracted, turning into a giant kaiju type person and taking on plants that she doesn't want to do because, she loves plants. And then the Joker ends up stabbing her in the chest with a harpoon and everything, only for her to die and get resurrected when she's in the ground. And she is the one who drops literally the Joker in the vat of acid that turns him back into a normal person. Lake Bell is the one who voices Poison Ivy. And I'm surprised she did a really good job, only because I've only seen her in live action once in that Vegas movie where she had a small role. And I don't know, I really wasn't feeling her performance in that movie. But here, she is just awesome. And I love how she tricks Harley with that of the Riddler, because Harley couldn't really get through her head the Joker like does not love her and love Batman more. So what is she does? She does like she has the Riddler kidnap like both Harley and Batman, and makes Joker decide which one's gonna fall in acid. And Joker pits Harley to fall in acid because he wants to save Batman. And so when Harley falls in acid, it's really just like alcohol and stuff like that. And, Poison Ivy did all this just to like prove it to her, because, she's trying to get through her head like, look, this dude's abusive. He does not want you. And like, you're just making a fool out of yourself. And it takes a real good friend to like, do something like that to make somebody get it in their head. And I don't know, man. It's just like this version of like Poison Ivy is just so different, but it's so cool at the same time. But what I really don't get in later seasons is like, why does she want to be the leader of the Legion of Doom when she clearly in season 1 wants nothing to do with them and like nothing to do with villainy and stuff? But now she's like, you know, a super villain boss, and it don't make no sense from like season 1. Frank is that of Ivory's, like, you know, talking plant, which is based on the Venus flytrap. This dude is hilarious. Always shouting, always like telling people how it is. In some ways, he's Ivory's like conscience. He's always trying to tell her, don't do this and don't do that. And like, you know, and he will like literally want to just like hang with her, but she doesn't want to carry him around everywhere. So he gets a dude who just, you know, smokes that stuff all the time to carry him around, and it's the craziest adventure they go on. This Batman is cool until they messed him up in season 3. Basically, he's your typical normal Batman. He's slightly humorous, and stuff like that. But he's basically your typical straightforward butt-kicking Batman. And Damian is the Robin, and this Damian is just like as gooberish as possible, which I really like because like I really hate the new 52 one. And James Gordon is literally just as stressed out can be. He's always turning on the bat signal so he can tell Batman about his failing marriage and his wife cheating on him, to where Batman's all like, you have abused the bat signal, so I'm taking it away from you. And stuff. Diedrich Bader from Batman Brave and the Bold reprises his role in this. And I was curious to know which one they was going to get, because I knew they were going to get like a former Batman. I just didn't know it was going to be him. And he actually, like, hey, here's the thing. He always has like a cool Batman voice. But in Brave and the Bold, I did not like his design for his voice. But here, it makes perfect sense. I don't like the armor bat suit because it just doesn't translate well in like animation, like 2D animation and stuff. But I just love his voice as like this Batman, and I can't see nobody else like voicing him and stuff. And I do love the way he was portrayed in season 1. I hate how he was portrayed in the other seasons. But at the climax at the end, after he saves Harley and Ivy from like rubble falling on them, it falls on top of him and they don't know if he's dead or alive. But which I kept saying, you know, he's in the other season, he's alive, and he acts like an idiot now. I really hate how they did Batman in season 3. Like, they was really pushing that envelope of not only how wacky they can get, but how much they can degrade men. Like I said before, it was fine in season 1 because nobody was really expecting this. And they wouldn't just make fun of men, they will occasionally make fun of women too, like Lois Lane and Wonder Woman and stuff. But now it's just constantly them like, you know, making all the men look like buffoons and all the women look like very educated women and stuff. Even this version of Robin, like I said before, he's so gooberish and everything. He acts like an actual little kid. And it's so weird because you're not expecting that, especially Damian and all. And it's just like he's all like, yeah, I'm everybody's sweet potato pie and everything. And he thinks he's the baddest like person there is because the people think he's Harley's nemesis. So he starts lying to people and everything until she has to like, you know, get video proof of him like lying about everything. And I swear to God, like you will bust out laughing the moment you hear this dude talk. And it was such a breath of fresh air because I really hated that new 52 version they did in the animated movies. This version of King Shark is this bubbly, flamboyant type person who is literally all about tech support. And this dude is hilarious with all his outbursts and how he always shouts at people. Now, there's a weird thing, the way he says if he sees blood, he'll freak out. And by him freaking out, he literally wants to eat people. But then this kind of quickly gets retconned, because then later on you constantly see him like always wanting to eat people and bite their heads off. Maybe that's the reaction to when like he saw blood, but like who knows, you know? But he is literally one of the funniest characters in like this show. This Clayface is so over the top when it comes to acting. He just wants to be an actor. So every time he has to disguise himself as somebody, he always wants to create like a backstory for that person. And he always overreacts when he's playing that person. And it's shown that if he loses a piece of himself, he can't regrow it. But instead, the part that got cut off turns into like a little like baby and stuff. Dr. Psycho is literally a misogynist like pig who just like hates women but always claps back at people. But he's one of the most hilarious characters in this show, and he always has people's back once he's part of their crew. He didn't want to work for Harley at first, but then when he did, he got pissed when they tried to make him the hench person to like, you know, Bane and everything. Which, by the way, this Bane is hilarious. Because this Bane talks like the Christopher Nolan one, but he's just like stupid in the head. And when Aquaman showed up in the fish area, he's like, "Look, I'm stepping on your fish." And he's always wanting to blow stuff up whenever he gets like upset. Sly is just this old cyborg person who's literally like Ivy's landlord. And he's just like, I don't know, just kind of funny, kind of creepy, kind of like icky, kind of just like, I don't know. Like, I'm so glad they got rid of him in later seasons and stuff. He always does, his designs just kind of weird. He's kind of weird. And it's just, he never really did it for me. This version of the Joker is just as manic and crazy and evil as can be. He's selfish. He only thinks about himself. He'll kill people left and right. And he's constantly using that of Harley. And like I said before, this is probably the best animated Joker since that of the Mark Hamill one from Batman the Animated Series. Heck, this is going to be blasphemous, but he's probably written better than the Mark Hamill one, only because he's actually allowed to go there with no restraints. And he is literally just like a screw loose. But I'll tell you this right here, right now, he's way better than the WB Kids, the Batman one with the long shaggy hair and not wearing shoes. And that one was good too, but that one was just so weird and different and stuff. But this man is truly just psychotic. And you can tell like how and why. Like if we didn't know Harley's backstory, you could literally like just assume he twisted her mind and everything. But you know, I just love this version of Bane. Like, I would never want to see it in live action unless somehow they're able to pull it off very well. But this version of Bane is like probably the most funniest person in the entire show. Because you're expecting him, because he sounds like the Nolan Bane. So you're expecting him to be like scary and evil and all this. But he is like, you know, just like the biggest like goofball there is who keeps messing up. And it's just so hilarious. I still say that this is the best like season of like the Harley Quinn show. I still don't know how they got renewed for season 5. I really don't. I don't know what the heck happened in season 4 and 3 that turned it so bad. But this is how the Harley Quinn Birds of Prey movie should have been. And they even make fun of the Suicide Squad, referencing the movie. You know, they don't reference the movie, they just make fun of the Suicide Squad. Because, you know, Harley's all like, oh yeah, they always want me to join and blah, 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 stuff like that. But I think they're lame, and so they were just making fun of the movie. But when it comes to that of the Birds of Prey, why can't I talk? My lips again stuck together. The Birds of Prey, I'm about to say it with a B, like beret. Prey movie. I don't understand. Why couldn't they just do this? Why couldn't they make Harley Quinn act like this? Why couldn't they make her crew act like this? Why couldn't they have storylines like this? It would have been a such better movie if they just would have done this. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right, well, I'll talk to you later. Bye.